All right, we're going to try something here based on this piece today that I was really surprised that we can add colored pencil to. Okay, now normally when working on colored foils like this, I had been working on the cardstock versions of them, not printable vinyl versions. Okay, so they look the same. They might not feel the same. I have a feeling this one's a lot thinner and kind of more, vinyl feeling than paper. It's not stiff because it's got to get through rollers and whatnot in your kind of inkjet printer. All right, but that being said, you know, I have been really surprised at how this surface or these types of surfaces, I don't know if they're all kind of designed the same or have the same type of base component that allows them to accept the different media that it seems to be able to. Okay, and accept them. Dries seem, seemingly just fine. Just very, I don't know, malleable surface. Okay, all right. Now I'm using the Brilliance white pigmenting pad here. Okay, and I'm doing some blocking out. This paper is really, really dynamic, of course, and I like to kind of mute some of the visual volume of this piece. It's a really loud type of surface, and that's what it's designed for, okay? But for me and my particular use of these types of surfaces for scenes, being that there's Stampscapes video channel here, and that's what I do, I like to create a nice foundation for those types of images to to enhance the whatever surfaces is we're working on. Okay, now I'm just looking at this right here, and it occurs to me this is when I tell people when you're applying this, don't sweat the fact that this is going on kind of chunky. All right, look at that. It's not smooth, and it's because as I'm adding this down here, it is really kind of drying for me really fast. All right, now this is roughly like a, not quite, but it's almost a half-page scene here. Okay, I'm working fairly big. I wanted to really try out some different images on here and really get some mileage out of those colored pencils. The colored pencils that I did before were really quite minimal. And I really wanted to explore those further on this piece. So anyways, that's why I'm not doing a live right now, although I love doing lives, but I really wanted to, I don't want this to take too long to do. I just wanted to challenge myself to see how fast I could get through this piece right here. So, kind of half-page, slimline type of format here. I don't know, maybe I went a little bit too big, but so be it. This is a experiment. Okay, now as I'm adding this down, this is a lot more white ink than I'm normally using, okay? I feel it's almost like my arm is getting tired here. Well, not my arm, but my shoulder. We're almost done here, though, okay? With this portion of it. Thank heavens. All right. So adding this down. I mean, you don't have to do it all at once either. But I can still see, some of those stars showing through. All right. Like right in that lower portion. We can go in and fill that in. The more you layer and fill in, the more covered and opaque this will look here. Okay. Now, I'm going with a little formation like this, and this goes up. That's where my covered bridge is going to go. And then I figured I'd do a couple trees to the left and right side here. So I'm going to position first with the snowy covered bridge, okay? And I need to see where that's going to go. And then I'll use some other images to flank and kind of frame the scene off. Okay, so let's start with first things first, okay? Okay, so I think I have a pretty solid foundation right here. I need to check with, let's see, what's the name of that company? Imagine Crafts, to see if they finally got in their re-inkers for their white Brilliance ink. I think it was on a ship somewhere or something like that when I ordered some. Let's see, let's go a little bit higher here. Okay, that is that. All right, now, as that sets up, it sets up pretty fast from what I've discovered. By the time I get this inked up here, that should be ready to go. Okay. I know one of the things that I found is that, and I found out just last night, is that the VersaFine Clair stamps out quite well directly on this paper. So if it dries on that just fine, it'll dry on this just fine, okay? And I found that the VersaFine Clair, you know, with cardstock, just white cardstock, you know, wherever else you might use VersaFine Clair, it's one of the darker inks. So, you know, when you're stamping with the black ink, you want it to be nice and rich and as close to black as you can get usually, okay? I mean, that's why we're using black as opposed to something like a gray, you know, when we're, you know, stamping things out. So get a really nice dark impression with that, okay? All right. Stays-on will work just fine too if you have it. Even like a dye-based black should work. I don't think it'll be as dark because this type of ink is a pigment ink, okay? It's just thicker, all right? Certain types of blacks look very dark on, you know, your cardstocks and whatnot. Okay, so I'm going to do some large trees to, you know, the left and right side of this, okay? And let's see where this is going to go. Okay, so it's going to be roughly like right here. So let me get kind of my bearings right here, okay? And I'll try to get roughly the width of this tree right in here, okay? If you go outside of the borders of the tree, that's fine. It just kind of looks like clouds or something like that. You know, right up here, I went around that, but, or outside of it, no problem, okay? So just do some kind of general blocking out like that. In general, I would say it's a little bit better if you go a little bit outside of the perimeter than too narrow, because we're going to be adding colored pencil to this, or try to, and we'll see what that looks like here. Okay, there's going to be one there, and we'll go with another one out here. Okay, I should probably go a little bit narrower and cut off the top of this. I think this is going to be a little bit too tall for this. These trees for how low I want them to go. So I think I'm going to cut off maybe a ½ inch off the top of this. It was a little bit, you know, it was a little bit too thick or too high, just in general, I think, to look like a true, like, slimline card anyway. So that in mind, I have my X-Acto blade handy, thinking that I might have to do that. We'll put some white up here. Well, let's add in the white later. All right, boy, that I have done some significant degree of, I don't know what you call it, pouncing, I guess. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go down about like so with that one. Supposed to be kind of a, well, not kind of, quite a bit of a foreground image. I'm going to wipe off the bottom of this because I think I'm going to put, make it appear as though this tree is in a little bit of fog. Okay, so by removing some of that ink down there, it should stamp out lighter because I have removed, you know, a significant degree of ink off of the lower portion, okay? Well, let's see if I did a good job. Sometimes I don't remove enough and it just stamps out just as dark as ever. Okay, see how light that is down there? Now, so I could put a nice fence there and it'll show up as opposed to having a dark impression in front of it and having that as dark, kind of obscuring what's going on in the foreground. It just looks like it's in kind of a misty, fog, which is, goes along with the spirit of this Christmas piece, okay? Or this, well, winter piece, I guess we could say, too. Okay, so I'll do the same on this one right here. Come about like so. Okay, let's see how that one's nice and light as well down there. Okay. All right, let's do some trimming here. This is a little bit too large now. Let's take about a ½ inch off the top, I think. Okay, let's see. Or however, I don't know, whatever that is there. It's about a ½ inch. So I put a little dot right there. I come over here and put a little dot right there. Come up like this, and we'll go match that up. Okay, crossed. Like that. All right. It doesn't quite reach up there, but I might be adding some more imagery up there. All right, we'll leave that out just in case we need it. All right, now let's see. What should I add in the background? We have our snowy bank as a possibility. But we also just have our snow filler, which may be the better bet. It's a little bit lighter and a little bit more malleable, just because it is a smaller image. Okay. And let's go with the VersaFine Clear again. Okay. In a snowy type of scenario, you really don't have to do much of anything. I could add something over here, but I don't have to, but I think I will. Okay, just get a little bit of that texturing in there, like so. Okay, like that. And we have our snow going off to the side like this, okay. Put it on the other side. I'm going over the tree a little bit, that's all right. I have that. Okay. Let's add a little bit of a higher one up here too. Okay, I'm just going to stamp out the top portion. I'm not stamping kind of too much of the lower. Actually, I didn't. Let me re-ink that one. Get it in there about like so. All right, see that right in there? So for a road coming out this way. Now remember, I wasn't too careful with that one. I don't know if I'm so careful with anything really, but, and it's especially because I know that I'm going to be putting the fences over the top of it, and we're doing some other things on here. The thing that's going through in my mind right now is, should I stamp the fences in here, or should we do the colored pencil coloring first? I'm not really quite sure. It's because, you know, we can kind of do either. So which one goes first? I don't know if it really matters quite so much. But let's see here. All right, so we have some additional fences that I can add in. Okay, let's see. I'm trying to think of what one I want to have in here. Okay, this one, I think I'm going to go fairly large. This is a really large tree here, so I think I'm going to go in like this. All right. I mean, there's options here. There's not, when we're doing stamping, usually, okay, there's no right or wrong answer. There's just like, do you want selection A or B, you know, or A1 and A2, you know, type of things, you know, things will come out looking just fine. Okay, so I left these last 3 rungs out, so I'm going right here. That's my last one right there that I'm using. You can use smaller portions of fences if you want. You don't have to use the whole thing. Stamping it out, stamping it over the top of that lighter portion of the tree trunk there. And that's where the wiping off, if we do this correctly, should come into play. See that right there? We can see that fence really very clearly in front of that tree. If that tree was like really dark, I mean, it would be okay, but it wouldn't be quite as visible, you know, having this little bit of separation, or a lot of separation between that fence and the other one. And the tree, not the other fence. Okay. Now this one right here we'll have coming in this way. Okay. Getting our bearings in here. The scene, it's already coming together pretty cool. I mean, we can, you know, just keep going on with our additional touches in here. And I think they look really great. But you can just stop too. We could, you know, you put a Merry Christmas up there, something like that, in front of. I don't know if I'd stamp it directly onto the paper. You could, but yeah. All right, let's see. I need to get a little bit of extra fence post. What do you call the horizontal things? Are they rungs? Not rungs, right? I forget. I know what the posts are, but I'm going to add in like 3 extra. I don't know what are fencing pieces here. So I'm just going to ink in like this here. Is that how I've inked in those 3 right there? Okay. Let's see if I can get that correctly merged in with this other piece here. Sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't. If I don't get it, I just draw it in. Okay, see that right there? So you kind of connect it. I missed a little bit down there. But close enough, I think. All right, so we have, you know, pretty, I don't know, it's a pretty strong visual lead-in right there with the fences. Going for a little bit of drama there in the imagery. We have a lot of drama already in the form of the stars up there, of course. Boy, that is really crazy up there. I kind of laugh a little bit when I see those stars like that. They are so, you know, dynamic, a visual in here. It's almost crazy. All right, so let's see. Let's add in. Now I definitely know that you know, foliage wouldn't be in here, but it might be a little bit fun to try in here. You know, it's kind of a, you know, dry foliage against some other imagery is pretty cool. Let's go ahead and do it. Okay, I'm going to do this a little bit differently too, okay? I'm going to try something. Let's go with some leafless tree limbs in here, okay? And then I'll sandwich it with some white images over the top of it. I don't know if they'll, you know, if it'll be opaque enough or not, but let's give it a try. Can't hurt. But it's just for the sake of having something, kind of framing the scene off. And it might just be best to have it layered, okay, as opposed to kind of single, you know, unit type things. Okay, so I'll put some here on the left side up there, okay? But see, it's real spindly against all those stars, so I might need, that's why I want to go in with a little bit more mass. We'll take our kind of artistic liberties, okay? And that's a big thing with any type of visual art, anything that you're creating, you know, we can kind of reference, you know, whatever rules and whatnot. But it's important to, you know, take the liberties where you think that they will serve your piece rather well, right? Okay, so adding these in, let's go for another one right up here, like so. Boy, this is really kind of taking shape nicely here. I think I might do the same thing coming up from the bottom too. And let's just give it a try, I don't know. Okay, so this is the reeds coming from down here. And again, we're kind of benefiting from that tree trunk being so light, transitioning from darker to lighter like that, because we can now see, you know, this grass, you know, on both sides like that, kind of framing off our scene really nicely. I love those textures though. Okay, here we go. We have all these kind of little pebbles down here too, okay? I'm going to take this and we're going to add some of these in here like so and carry this texture down here. Fill this area in like so. Use multiple impressions to get lighter impressions of it in here as well, okay? But we'll also do this in our multiple tones. I don't know if this is going to work or not. Let's like I said though, let's give it a shot. Okay, here's what I'm talking about, multiple layers here. All right, I'm going to take these leaves and I'm going to try to stamp them in white up here. Kind of like a little, you know, frosted, frozen, you know, a bit of foliage up there, like the ice storm, you know, kind of got it or something like that. And froze it in place, kind of preserving it, you know, for, I don't know, the cold wave that came through type of thing. So, you know, it just, you know, the leaves didn't fall off. Okay, they just froze in place type of thing, maybe. Maybe that's what's going on. I don't know. You don't have to come up with reasons like that, but for those of you in those cold areas, where this might not look right, It doesn't need to, as long as it looks cool. And it might not. All right, let's give it a shot. Okay. I just don't know if this is going to stamp opaque enough, but if it blocks out a little bit of that background, you know, that's really all I'm looking for here. It doesn't have to be a perfectly, you know, super opaque impression. Yeah, it looks pretty good though. Let's see. I have it off on the side. I can see it against the foil. I don't know. Let me see if I can see it against. It shows up a little bit against the tree trunk. Not a lot though. It sure looks good on the foil though. Or, I don't know. Is this called foil? Holographic. Okay. I don't know if it's officially foil when it's on the printable vinyl like this. It's going over this VersaFine clear without too many problems, okay? All right, over here I put it over, you know, the front of that trunk a little bit. It doesn't really show up, but see that right up there? It's really not too bad against the foil. It really kind of blocks it out a little bit more, okay? So, that being said, what I'm going to do now, I was going to come over it with this branch again. I'm going to nix that idea, okay? We're going to come over it again with the VersaFine Clear, so we'll do it in both white and black. I think I need a little bit more of a full impression. Otherwise, it might just look a little bit too busy. Just going with that spindly branch up there. So the spindly branch will just be, you know, that one's the spooky branch specifically, but let's go with something full. All right, so going with the VersaFine Clear again. We'll see how it stamps out. You know, we're getting pretty tonal here. Or textural, I should say, not tonal. Yeah, excellent. Looks good. VersaFine Clear. Stays on would work, I'm sure, just fine too on that. No problem, okay? Okay. See, this is really framing the piece off rather nicely. I can't add like tone very well on this type of paper, you know, and blend it in like I would do with a typical vignette. So you see, I'm utilizing my imagery on here to kind of give myself those kind of darker corners like that. It just kind of frames things like a vignette would, you know, but like I said, but just doing it, just create your, you know, your tonal corners using images instead. You know, that serves us, you know, rather well, I think. Okay, so that is that. Now let's come in with this one. Okay, we used this in black. Now let's not be lazy. Let's get that cleaned off reasonably well. I don't want all that black ink in my Brilliance pad. I might get a little bit in there, but I don't want a lot in there. Okay, that's got off a little decently. Okay, so let's use some of this Brilliance white here. Okay, looks like that. And we'll come into this area down here. All right, completely invisible. I think. Let me see if I can see it at all. I can see it in the darker areas. Okay, so that, I don't know, it didn't really do very much of anything. If anything, we're going in with our reed stamp here again. Let's see. Let's hit that one with white as well, like a layered white, okay? I don't know. I hope it makes it look a little bit icier. I don't know. Yeah, a little bit. A little bit of contrasting tone within that space, okay? Yeah, I'll use a little bit more of an angle. Okay, we'll go like that. Should I sandwich it? Let's go ahead and sandwich it with another black. So we go black, white, black. With each of them, I'm kind of stamping it a little bit lower. With white, I went with a little bit more of an angle like that, just so, you know, I don't get the forms kind of just repeating right on top of another. The next one, I went with that. And these ones, I'm going a little bit lower, you know, to make it show up a touch more. All right. It's a pretty fun scene, I think. Okay. Look at that. Okay. Let's go. Okay, I'm trying to think of my process here. A lot of people think, okay, you know, I know that, you know, doing scenes, yeah, doing anything, you know, practice makes perfect, right? But it's not so much practice as it is process. Be sure you're using the right type of processes if you're trying to replicate, you know, anything you might see on this channel, okay? Like a lot of times people are talking about basic little things that takes me, you know, a couple minutes to teach people, like in classes, and you know, I'm not fooling anyone. There's not like some kind of mysterious thing I'm covering up here, something like that. But so people are saying, you know, I would never do that. Okay. Well, if I sat people down, I've been doing this for 30 years and everyone gets it. But don't substitute something like, there's holographic papers like this, there's holographic cardstocks, and you can do this on those cardstocks, but just keep in mind you're going to adjust your different media for those types of papers. So this vinyl is taking the inks much differently than a cardstock. Like I don't think I can use the VersaFine Clear on here. So you just use StazOn or something like that. So just be aware of those types of little things like that and keep with the processes, okay? You know, don't use like a, yeah, I don't know, crayon, you know, for, you know, acrylic white paint pen or, you know what I mean? I'm just joking with that. But, you know, just hey, people have mentioned, you know, things like that to me before. You know, I didn't have a, you know, a black permanent marker, so I used, you know, a white oil pastel. You know what I mean? I hear things like that once in a while. And hey, you know, I totally believe wholeheartedly that you make do, okay? But adjust accordingly if there are some types of surface incompatibilities. All right, graffiti, Emoki 3mm paint pen. Let's get a little bit of a, I don't know, let's get a little texture in here, okay? All right, so coming down in here, adding a little bit more kind of a shimmery type of look, you know, into the piece, you know, give a little bit more of this snow on the rooftop here. I want to. It's just making it look a little bit more kind of opaque up there and whiter, you know. We can get pretty opaque with the application of white pigment ink, but the acrylic is really quite quite an application of media over the top of it, so it can get quite a bit lighter as a result. Okay, now see on these mounds right here, okay? I'm going to add a little bit more tone just to tweak my kind of highlighting, lighting on those, okay? That, and it's again because, you know, that white pigment ink, you know, doesn't get things like completely coated, so you can go in and add extra white in there. And plus, that looks a little bit more rounded as a result. A little bit more wintry and, I don't know, what, varied, I guess is the word, okay? Now this kind of, these little touches like this look kind of weird, you know, if you just have them in one area. So you have to kind of add them because it's a foreign texture that you're adding in. So if you add it in more areas, it becomes a common texture as opposed to kind of a foreign one, you know, where it doesn't exist anywhere else on the scene. So that's where a lot of people get kind of panicky. They'll add in something like this and think, "Oh my God, that looks terrible." Well, it's because it's this one thing that's kind of standing out, very unique to that one area, but then you add it all the way around, you know, and it becomes that common texture that's running throughout the scene. And instead of it representing three dots on its own or something like that, some bizarre type of thing, it represents lighting or textural throughout the piece. Okay, I always like to point that out. So just be aware of that. Don't go like two dots and say, "Oh my God, that, you know, what in the world?" Sometimes I have to add quite a bit for it to kind of make, I don't know, a little bit more of a visual sense in there. Okay, so that is that. I use these smaller ones too, you know, for a little bit more of a refined look. Let's do that right here, okay? So see these fences right here? See how they're kind of illuminated on top of them? I don't know if you can see it in this camera here, but I'm going to go in and reiterate that, okay? But it's just like on the top surfaces of things. So if you have this fence set, I would recommend, you know, going in, adding some of these little highlights like this. Like that. It kind of, it makes it, it makes the form just seem a little, quite a bit more three-dimensional when you have things kind of capturing some light within the scene. All right, now I keep expecting this white to kind of clog as I'm going over here, but this is one of those surfaces where um, the vinyl is really has really grabbed. Maybe it's not the vinyl itself, but it's whatever that emulsion coating is, or whatever it is, on the surface has really grabbed the ink. So I'm just able to go in and draw right over the top of that. And I don't seem to be digging in and clogging my tip here. I got to get it flowing a little bit once in a while, but it's not really too bad at all. I can go like this, and yeah, it's just, yeah, this paint keeps flowing rather nicely. Yeah, as just I said, that kind of clog, get it flowing again. Okay, let's see, let's add a little bit more to this rooftop here. You can do little ice crystals or something, kind of hang it. Oh, let's see, let's get this little patch of snow on the other side of the roof. All right, see that right there? It's kind of fun doing all those types of little things like that. All right, now let's try and add in some additional tones. Okay, so I added some highlights in these areas. Now let's add a little bit of shading. Now in snow, there's not too much shading that I would normally do, so I'm just going to just kind of add a little blue down in the shadow areas like that. Okay. Maybe this is a little bit too of an aqua blue, but look how beautiful and shocking to me. Ooh, this applies. Oh, come on. Hunting. Sorry about this, folks. I need a new camera, or lens, I think. The automatic focus on these cameras are in the lens. And the lenses are very expensive. Hit the like button, please, or subscribe. It takes like 1 second, you know. All right. Turning off, turning back on. Okay, there we go. Okay, there we go. Okay, so here we go. Adding these tones down here. Let's see, I haven't tried like multi-toned shadows, like 2 layers of colored pencil. It's not too bad. Now I'm making a point not to dig down too deeply, like, and really press down, but I'm kind of just lightly applying this, and it is going on very nicely, okay? So areas that are just generally a little bit darker, I'm just kind of going in and reiterating that, okay? But do you see that blue in there? Oh, let's say I turned off my camera. Let's see here. There we go. Adding that down like that. Added some shadows on a rooftop. You can color your acrylic pens too like that. Okay. All right, let's go on with kind of this blue right here. Kind of matches like that blue that we're seeing, but is it blue or is it red and yellow? You know what I mean? It's just all kinds of colors in there. Look at this. You can have it on the inside of something with that vinyl sticker paper. You could have it on the outside, like a cup or bottle or something like that. Wouldn't it be cool to kind of going around a mug like that? Look how 3-dimensional that looks. All right, so here is kind of more of a, I don't know, cobalt blue. Oh my God, that looks so nice on there. I love that I love the things that I seem to be able to do on this vinyl paper so far, okay? Whether or not it would have me working on it as like a regular thing, I don't know. But this ability to layer and do these multiple tones with colored pencils, it's really not bad. Like a matte cardstock is one of the most versatile cardstocks, right? Because it's, no color and you can do whatever you want with it practically. You can use just about any medium on there and it works out just fine. Well, what if you had this type of paper here too? Something that's super dynamic, but you can do anything you want to it. I don't know if we can do Copic markers over the top of this. Maybe, I don't know. But this is quite, an ability to go in here. See, I'm adding some shadows at the base of these fence posts right down here in this blue tone. And I just think that is a really cool thing to be able to do. It's just, I don't know, it's shocking to me. And look at that blue. I mean, that has really added a lot of kind of dimension to this whole piece, wouldn't you say? All right, now let's try. I was mentioning doing something in those tree trunks here. Okay, let's hit these tree trunks with a little bit of brown tones. Let's bring a little bit of warmth into this piece, okay? Now see how this transitions from kind of darker to lighter down there? So just keep that in mind. Maybe don't go like super, you know, dark brown down here. Have it transition as well down, down low like that, okay? And why don't we go in here? We'll connect the trees up, you know, with that, you know, same sort of color as the covered bridge, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. The covered bridge would probably be painted, but let's just make it brown just for the sake of continuity here. Here's what I'm doing a little bit here. I'm kind of making the outside of my tree trunks a little bit darker so that it's kind of more interior lit in here. Okay. All right. See, I've darkened in this side a little bit more so that this piece, the bridge, looks a lot more three-dimensional. You have, you know, three different sides and, you know, top, you know, front, side versions of it, okay? So render your different areas to kind of really reinforce that idea of lighting and dimension, okay? Look at that brown on there. Who would have thought you can use colored pencil on something like that? Boy, that is insane. They say you have to, you know, in order, you know, for like computers, they call it a killer application, you know. You want a killer application for things, you know what I mean? You know, that means really cool, not like kill, you know, or something like that. But this colored pencil on here is one heck of a kind of potential application. Okay, now I'm layering my colored pencil in here with some additional white. So white is going, you know, underneath and over the top of this. So we're putting in multiple layers of tone in here, okay? So this tree, you know, it's got a little bit of snow on it too. You know, it's kind of, you know, blowing on there and building up a little bit. So, and I had a little bit of texture here and there on those trees, like about like that. Okay, now I haven't even used black on here. I love toning and shading my pieces with black too, so let's go in with that. So remember I said about the trees, okay? So I like to have my lighting look like it's coming from within a card usually, unless you're going for a strong side lighting or something like that for, you know, dramatic effect. But I usually like to have my lighting coming from within, so the outside, you know, areas of my trees are usually the kind of the darkest sides. Okay, a little bit of shadow reinforcement up here too. Okay. Looks a little bit more three-dimensional, huh? Okay, let's add a little bit of shadows down. You know, I know I've shaded it a little bit down here with blue, but hitting it a little bit more with black. It's I don't know, it's hitting it with the black now. It looks like it's a little bit more of a nighttime type of scene, which I don't know, makes sense. You know, this is a star paper, so I guess it should be kind of more night-ish. Okay. I hope some of you are kind of following along with me in one of these pieces after you got your papers and things like that and you're ready to go. All right. Okay, so let's hit it with some Dr. Martin's Bleed Proof White. Add in some, I don't know, some snowfall, kind of active snowfall in here. Could be a very light little bluster, but I think it'll break up a little bit of this form in here with just some extra lighter texture, okay? Like that. I mean, it is really loud, and I think it looks fine as is, but why not add in a little bit of extra texture while we're at it? Let's see how this is going. Just a little bit of Dr. Martin's Bleed Proof White on a toothbrush. The toothbrushes without kind of the gum stimulators and all that tend to work the best, what we've found. I've been using the same one for years here. Cheap one, probably given out at like a dentist office or something of that sort, I'm guessing. Okay, even though the gum stimulators probably are, just as cheap now. Okay, so that has been added in like so. Okay. This is what you can see the snow, the texture in there like that without any light reflecting in there. Look how great that scene just looks as is, too. But then you get that. This is something for anyone, right? Now it's for the kids, or the kids in all of us. I love that. Okay, so let's add in some little bit of extra textures in here. Let's go with the Dr. Martin's white and add a little bit of extra fog. So we've added fog. We've added our images over it and a lot of texturing. Let's go full circle and add in a little of this right over the top of it. So what that does is it kind of puts the images and everything like that kind of enveloped, it's over the top of this kind of frosty white like this, but now it's underneath it as well, so it really adds in that kinesthetic element to it, I think. The scene becomes visual right now, but it's also about feel. It's like sitting in something. You don't put it over everything. You kind of say, I put it here, but not over here. So see this fence? It's fairly uniform like that. So I just kind of break it up a little bit. I come from below like this too. I like a kind of a low line fog in there. And this gets a little bit busy in here with all that texturing. So I'm going to put a little bit of this foggy effect over the top of it and kind of give it a little bit of refinement, about like so. We can come up here too in the distance and give our horizon a little bit more of a kind of mistier, kind of a cloudy look like that. Kind of going up like that. How about some in the background here too? About like so. And I think that should do it, okay? Add a little bit here in the sky. I don't know, maybe our vignette isn't so much of a dark vignette. Maybe it's a white vignette on this type of paper. I don't know. Kind of a wintry wonderland. Okay, so let's take a look. And then what I'll do is I'll card this up. All right, so anyway, let's see what that looks like. I think that makes for a pretty powerful statement like that, huh? Look at this. It's like a wave. But look how three-dimensional that looks. You can go like that. It's like that. Different stars. All right, let's get this formatted and see what it looks like. All right. So that is that. I just gave it a little bit of a kind of a dark glossy cardstock around I made a mistake and I didn't trim off like a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch off the side, so I couldn't double mat it or something like that. So I just gave it a stiff, backing like that. I just used some of the crafter's tape too, just for positioning. because I did see this side's a little bit shorter on that, than that one. But I don't know. It's a little bit more kind of precarious kind of position in it without, just using the sticker paper as sticker paper. Okay, so I'm going to go in and add a few more like larger, I don't know, whatever, snowballs, not snowballs, but snowflakes kind of falling down here. They could be stars, but they're kind of a little more Charlie Brownish of a, snowball falling like this. Okay, just for, some variation in shape up there from just strictly splatter painting, results. Okay. So I think, what can I say? I really like what this paper is allowing me to do. I wouldn't have thought that I could use colored pencil on something like this. It's quite a luxury to be able to use something like that soft type of media on such a slick surface like that. I'm not doing it on that surface though. I'm doing it on the white. The colored pencil just, you know, it's not going to stick to something like this. It's like taking colored pencil and trying to, write on, wax or something like, or glass. You know what I mean? It's just not going to work. But the Brilliance white is really, you know, allowing us to do certain types of things on here, and just a really fantastic way. I'm seeing not too much of a difference from applying this pencil on top of this than on like a matte cardstock. It's really remarkable. So it's just quite a luxury, and one that I plan on taking advantage of going forward. So I don't know. It is really some fun stuff. And this is just a winter scene. Can you imagine doing, I don't know, some other types of stronger applications in here? It might be a, you know, even more powerful of an ability for us. Okay, so that's white like that down there. I don't know. This colored pencil is really providing a nice contrast against such a stark, loud background like that. Having these real soft applications is really providing a really great contrast. Now, see, this is where I went outside of, where those impressions are going to go. Those stars are going into some of these areas where I didn't add enough of the white ink. You can see there's a little bit of a glow around this. I don't think it really matters. It just kind of reads fine. Maybe in this setting, I don't know what it would look like in a, fall setting or high noon or something like that. But I think it would look just fine. I don't know. It remains to be seen. I haven't run into anything kind of where it's kind of obtrusive. I'm just looking at some of these other areas. I'm wondering if, even to put other types of trees in the background there too. But I don't know. I think that's going to do it for this piece. God, that is so crazy and striking in terms of the dimension that we can get from this too. So, man, there's a lot of different texture or contrasts in here, visually, pattern, color, so on and so forth. And I find that it looks rather very strong from a three-dimensional aspect too. So it's just really fun stuff. I really recommend exploring a lot of the media that you probably already have in your supplies. Not just doing something like this, but I've been playing around with this like for 2 days, and I don't know, it just seems like there's a little bit of an evolution with each piece that I do, kind of getting me closer to, I don't know, some type of process that'll give us, a certain type of look at results. that's really conducive for that combination of media, and it is just so fun to watch develop right in front of your eyes doing those types of things. It's a little bit, spirit of exploration and whatnot. And I don't know, that's always really fun to do. Okay, so anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. This is a pretty big piece right here, and there was a lot of techniques in here. It took me an hour to do, and I don't know, I don't think that's a really long process in there for this project like this. I think this is a really powerful piece. And again, I'm not patting myself on the back or something like that. I'm saying that it's the paper, that's doing it. It's the loudest thing in the scene. It's the strongest visual by far. So I'm allowing that to do a lot of the work. This portion of it is not hard to do. I mean, if we just stamped it on like a piece of matte paper and just colored it in like that, that's not a hard thing to do. But it's just getting it onto this and just doing that white out first, again with the white pigment ink. I got to see that white Brilliance pigment ink is out there. They had it on order at Imagine Crafts, who is the distributor for Tsukaneko products in the U.S. And I'm sure I'm going to be going through a lot of that going forward, especially with this type of pretty cool results on this type of paper. So. All right, thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you enjoy this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it, and it really helps out a lot for like a micro nothing channel like the Stampscapes one is right now. It's relatively small, like I said, very small. If we can get just a few more people, it'd be awesome. Okay, thanks again.